All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Weems. I'm the Director of Advancement at UMI Cushing High School. I'm here with Dave Epp, MP for Chatham-Kent-Leamington, member of the Standing Committee of Foreign Affairs and International Development, and member of the Special Committee on the COVID-19 pandemic. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Sarah. It's good to be here.
Glad to have you. What was one of your favorite memories for your time at UMI?
Well, there's a bunch, and I'll have to admit that I had to think about it a little bit because it's also been a few years. Certainly, I think, as a high school student, and I saw that with my own kids, it's very much the social interactions. It's the friends that you make as classmates and schoolmates that end up being friends for life. Still today, some of those connections are some of my strongest personal connections. And I've been lucky that I've been involved with many, many circles as I've worn different hats through my life. But some foundational relationships I can trace back to my days at UMI. So obviously, I mean, sports was part of it, the modeling of the teachers, etc. A lot of that stuff, I didn't realize how important it would be till later, but my memories, a lot of them come from the dances or the parties, the field trips, and those interactions.
How did UMI help lay the foundation for your life of service?
I shared a bit on this theme at a chapel that I was asked to participate in before our worlds changed, and I didn't realize it at the time. But the foundation verse, 1 Corinthians 11, for no other foundation can be laid than that which is laid, which is Jesus Christ. I wasn't really, I was aware of it at the time, but very much I talk about UMI being foundation building. The stuff that's underneath the ground, that solid base, and so I've been able to build on that with many, many subsequent experiences. And a lot of that comes from the interactions of how, we're learning about maths and sciences, but it's done in a setting where faith is integrated with practice, is integrated with academics. And that's, you don't realize it as a student at the time, but how often that comes back to you later in life.
What made you and your wife, Charlene, choose to send all 4 of your daughters to UMI?
My wife, Charlene, also attended a Christian Anabaptist Mennonite-based school, RJC, Rostern Junior College in Saskatchewan. And so it wasn't much of a decision. I mean, we knew we wanted to do that. UMI offered 2 things. It offered that integration of faith with academics. But purely aside, in hindsight, it is a bit of a family sacrifice, especially at that time in your life. From a cost perspective, to send your kids. But the educational experiences that my daughters had there, the smaller class sizes, and just the quality of education interaction with staff and with their fellow classmates, I think has given them a quality education that I'm not sure they would have had the same experience, particularly from the aspect, the smallness of it allows them forces them to lead. Kids can't hide there. And so what that does, and it's done in a safe place, but they're allowed to bring out their leadership qualities. And I've seen that in my own daughters in university and as they make their early strides into their careers.
It's really an investment in their future.
Very much so.
Why does Lycoland Farms choose to support UMI?
That began, there's a fledgling program when I had the opportunity to serve on the board. And so most businesses, when they sponsor something, they're coming at it from the business aspect of, I'll get some exposure, or hopefully I'll create some business for it. From a Lycoland Farms perspective, given the contracts that we had in the business that we're in, that was, we're largely a business to business. We're a supplier to other food companies. And so that wasn't really the motivating factor. I was on the board and I wanted to grow the corporate sponsorship program. So it was much to set an example from the business community that as a way that there's value in supporting another local institution. There's also a cooperative education component to that, but it was as much to demonstrate to other businesses that, here's another vehicle for you to support a community aspect. And particularly if you're also from a faith background, it's another way for businesses to support UMI.
And what made you decide to run for office?
Yeah, I've had this question a couple times. This I almost considered a natural I hate to say the word progression, but I had the opportunity to serve fairly young in my farming career in the processing vegetable industry. I was still in my 20s when I was first elected onto a local district committee to represent fellow producers. At the time, I think there was almost 300 of us just here in Essex County alone. And with the natural attrition in the whole vegetable industry, I think there's less than 300 across the province now. I think there were over 3,000 at the time in the province. And over time, I was able to represent that organization provincially, and that led to an opportunity to represent a Crown agency on their board of directors. In the meantime, different church and faith-based organizations had the opportunity to serve there. So each one had, at times progressively more responsibility. And I personally do also like a challenge. This was another step, and it fit in well with our life situation. Lycoland Farms is a partnership of my wife with my brother and his wife. With the big changes in our community, 7 years ago with Heinz closing, with 4 daughters that were indicating career paths that weren't leading toward agriculture, it gave me another opportunity to pursue something and allowed my brother and my nephew to take over more of the day-to-day responsibilities on the farm. It came with some risk because in this profession, there is no job guarantee. So I serve at the will of 109,620 local people. But it's a challenge I've enjoyed. I've learned tremendous amounts, and I'm still very much in my learning phase.
2020 has been a historical year with a global pandemic and social revolution. Would you like to share with our viewers how this has affected Parliament?
Sure. You have to remember that I'm 6 months into my first term, so I very much still consider myself a rookie. I sometimes jokingly say I'm in the 6th decade of my life, and this is now my 3rd job in my 6th decade, because I did spend 5 years with the Canadian Food Grains Bank when I stepped back from the farm and had a chance to interact with other farmers and Christians in a more of a global based or a national charity. So that was another stepping stone in between. But COVID, how has it affected Parliament? Some veteran MPs that I've had a chance to get to know have said that the rookie class of 2019, we were elected last October, have had more one-off experiences in their short 6 months of tenure that some of them get in a 20-year career. I mean, COVID has overshadowed everything that went on even in the first 4 months. If you recall, there were 2 train blockades. There's a national strike, and there were the Wet'suwet'en blockades. There was an airliner crash, shot down, with many, many Canadians on board. There was a once-in-a-generation trade deal that we had with our neighbors to the south that was renewed. That doesn't happen every term or every 2 terms. That happens once in a generation. So all of those things have almost been forgotten in the last 3 months since the global pandemic was declared. So how has it affected Parliament? Well, I was fortunate to be named Deputy Critic of Foreign Affairs. Unfortunately, as a committee, we've only met once. And we're beginning to put the building blocks together of our work. And so that was suspended. The COVID Committee of the Whole has been meeting, but really Parliament has been suspended since March 13th. So even though I'm 6 months into my term, in the past year, I think we've sat just over 40 sessions of Parliament. So I have experienced most aspects of it, of speaking in the House, of question period, of some committee work, of giving some speeches. But it's really affected the day-to-day workings. Particularly being new to this role, I also stepped into a Parliament just as a result of the last election that we're in a minority Parliament. So that has a different flavor, I'm told. I've never experienced anything else, but it has more, quote, small p political dynamics to it. And then on top of that, though, the party of which I'm a member of is also undergoing a leadership campaign. And so I've got all those internal party politics, small p, going on as well. So it's been a very, very interesting time to kind of learn all of those processes. And then the practical aspects. I mean, the number one role of my role is to represent the interests here and provide constituency services. And with COVID hitting and affecting so many people in their daily lives, that's the number one priority. And so we have 3 offices. I have a Hill office and a staff there, but we have offices here in Chatham and Leamington. And we've had a tremendous amount of outreach from constituents looking for help navigating the maze of new programs that are announced quickly, that changes are announced quickly, and obviously the bureaucracies are swamped. And so it has been a real challenge providing constituency service. I'm really proud of my staff. I think we've done a good job of it, and I'll give that credit to my local staff that have really worked hard in being responsive to the needs locally.
How do you feel your experience at UMI helped you with the skills required to adapt to these changes and help lead our country in a time of crisis?
I'll go back to the theme of the school, I think, and that's the foundation. I would not, I think, be able to do this just coming right out of UMI. Although I will say there's a 21-year-old member of parliament in my party that was just graduating university and was elected. So there's a wide mix. For myself, though, the years I spent representing vegetable growers, the years I spent on a provincial crown agency, the years I've spent on church council, and quite frankly on the UMI board as well, and all of those organizations dealing with governance, dealing with staff relationships, and then dealing with issues. I think that has helped me to be in a position where I can add something to this role. And undergirding all of that is the foundation that was laid at UMI. It's tough if you don't have some of those life experiences to all of a sudden be confronted with so many issues at once. I mean, I've dealt with 4 this morning already, and just snapped off a call to take this one, and there's some other things very much locally developing right now. And so it's to be able to hold multiple balls in the air. And I think life experience, being involved with business, being involved representing others' interests, both in faith settings, school settings, agricultural business settings, I think that's all helped. But UMI is what prepares you for that. In a small school, you're academics, you're involved with how many different clubs, you have all of those opportunities to bounce multiple or keep multiple balls in the air.
Mhm. Well, thank you very much, Dave, for taking the time to share your experiences with us, and have a great day. Good luck with all the fires.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sarah. I appreciate this opportunity, and the best of good luck to the school. I would like to give a shout out to John Fittler, who's retiring after, I think, 30 years of service. Excellent, and kudos to the board and staff. UMI, I think I've served in almost every role other than principal at that school, and so it has a special place in my heart.
Thank you very much. Have a
Thanks,
great day.
Sarah.
Bye.